Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my last Link Joker deck that I have built or updated. So this one is the Nebula deck. People don't see a lot of Nebula played anymore. He's kind of slow, he has a hefty counterblast cost, but there's a couple of cards in here that do help assist him with that in that regard. Normally he will really be used as stride fodder, to be honest, but sometimes you do actually get to use him. I did actually at first run the Limit Break Enabler in here, but then I took it out because I found that he's going to have to Counterblast 2 anyway, and a lot of stuff uses Counterblast, so it's kind of not really needed in here. But I may bring it back. I just have to mess with the lineup again. So for right now, I'm only running 2 Nebula Lord, because 2 is really enough. Like I said, he's not the main focal point of the deck. He's just kind of there as a backup to try to close out a game with strong columns as a final push. Kind of equivalent to like a GB2 type of skill or a Limit Break skill, which is what his skill is. But 2 Nebula Lord to help me hit that 9 grade 3 number. Next I'm running 4 Star Vader Imaginary Plane Dragon. So this one is the replacement to Gravity something Dragon, whatever the one that came out with Star Vader that was not Star, or without Nebula. It came with Nebula and it was not a Star Vader, it was the Ride Chain. But anyway, this is like the upgrade to him. 4 of him because he's Legion and he triangle locks when you Counterblast 2 when he's in Legion, and you can lock up to 3 cards because it's up to the number of units in the middle column. So he triangle locks. So he's your standard 22k Legion. And then the other grade 3 is Star Vader Garnet Star Dragon. Like I said, all these decks are kind of budget. I think probably Imaginary Plane is probably the most expensive one out of them. Otherwise, if you don't have him, I would say just run 4 of Garnet Star and 4 Nebula, and I think the deck will be fine. I just wanted to hit that 9 grade 3 number, so this is the lineup. For grade 2s, I am running 4 Companion Star Vader Photon. Photon is really good with Nebula in late game. Nebula will lock a back row, he'll come to the field, lock a front row. If you have another one, you'll lock another front row, so that's plus 9 to the front row. So that's pretty good. So he helps Nebula a lot, in my opinion. But he just helps all the Link Joker in general. And then 4 of the Flash Gun Star Vader Osmium. He has the ability to Omega Lock when he hits a Vanguard. You get to choose one of the opponent's lock cards and it gets Omega Locked. So this also is good with any of these guys in that regard. And he's the Legion mate for this guy. So. And then the only other grade 2 is Radon. Radon just to be able to hit proper numbers. And you don't really need the claw thing, because Radon will automatically be stronger than the claw thing unless you're locking like 2 things per turn. And otherwise Radon is still more consistent. So this deck is more focused on Omega locking and hitting large numbers when they have locked stuff. So Radon is fine in the event where that's not actually happening. If it's not working out, the deck doesn't instantly fall apart. So that's why we run 3 Radon. For grade 1s, I'm running the new trial deck Perfect Guard, so I can actually build this deck. Because Prometheum is with CBD, the Deleters have their thing, and the Messiah got the unflipped, the G Perfect Guard. So this is the trial deck Perfect Guard that came out with Messiah. So it's in here, so the deck can exist. So 4 of that. 1 Star Vader Turn Down Dragon. This is just in here as a random tech choice, as a defensive card to gain shield. Then we have 4 Star Vader Volt Line. This card is another Omega Lock thing, so it's kind of like the Legion mate, this guy. Puts more pressure to boost. When it hits, you Omega Lock. So, like I said, this thing keeps the lock going. So in late game with Nebula, this is just really amazing. This is probably one of the best boosters. So you usually want to have this behind Nebula or one of the rear guards. And the other grade 1 is for Lantham. Lantham is surprisingly good in here because he combos really well when you're locking stuff. So he works well with Nebula. He works well with any of them, really. So he's just really good. Otherwise, the only other one I would recommend running is probably just the generic 10k Star Vader. But Lantham's fine. For trigger lineup, it's 6 critical and 6 draw. I said that in reverse, but that's what it is. And then 4 of the heal. And then the starter, I did actually keep a Legion-based starter because there's only 2 Nebulas. There's 7 Legions. There's 2 different Legions in here. And this starter doesn't use any counterblast, that's why I like it. And basically, it's you put in the soul. When an attack hits a Vanguard during the battle, this unit boosted. If the Vanguard is in Legion, you can choose up to 2 of the opponent's locked cards and they get Omega locked. So with him, the effect is pretty self-explanatory, and you do all these Omega lock for free, meaning there's no counterblast. So later on, when you ride Nebula to close out the game, they still have a bunch of lock targets, and you can lock another back row to get more power. Same thing with him. So I just think this is probably the best one, because most games you will start out with either of these because there's just 4 of him and 3 of him. So it's just the math behind that. Sometimes you will have to start out with Nebula, and that's kind of lame because then you can't use him. But it's not that big of a deal because there's so many other ways to lock stuff. Speaking of other ways to lock stuff, we've got the Stride, which is 2 Big Crunch, 2 Nebula Dragon, 2 Judgment Messiah, 1 Madu, and 1 Blizza. Same as CBD. Because it's so many Legions, Medu's in here, and then you just get a lot of ways to lock stuff. So that was my Star Vader Nebula Stride based deck, or Legion, or whatever. So let me know what you guys think of the deck. I think the grade 1 and 2 choice is actually pretty good with Nebula in terms of giving the Omega lock pressure so that he can maintain his attack power for more than just 1 turn. So anyway, let me know what you think of the deck in the comments below, and as always guys, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.